Hello and welcome to Talking Dogs on a Monday. Of course, we are talking all things Con Annie Kirby Memorial. As always, I am joined by the exiled dub Tommy Lyons. Change of perspective for Tommy today. We've got a bit of red brick in the background there, and Mike Flaherty. His dulcet tones will be heard over the next hour or so as we discuss all matters Kirby Memorial. Mike, firstly, you're very welcome indeed as a man who got to call through the Juvenile Classic. The form really stood up. A few fantastic performances by greyhounds that actually ran well in the juvenile.
Yeah, it's a busy weekend of racing, wasn't it? We were off in Tralee this weekend because we've relayed the track back open on Tuesday night for our bags cards. But so I didn't think I'd be watching as much greyhound racing this week, but I seem to have been stuck in front of the computer watching dogs 24/7. But yeah, it was a fantastic start to the Kirby. I don't think there's many upsets really. I suppose the bobsleigh dog would be one that you'd be disappointed about, but he didn't get a run really. There was a couple of others that had hard luck stories, but on the whole, all the ones that you'd want to be seeing progressing have progressed. And it all started off with a very impressive winner in Kilgreeney, Sydney in the Heat 1.
We'll get to Kilgreeney, Sydney in a minute. Tommy, we had a couple of notable withdrawals, of course. Speaking of the Juvenile Classic, it was the Juvenile Classic winner was perhaps the biggest profile withdrawal, Magical Mary, and another one from the Pat Kilfoyle kennel. I see in Peter Farrell's report that it's reported due to illness. It's just one of those things. I'd say Pat, going on his experience from last year's Derby, where Explosive Boy, he touched on us at the National Greyhound Awards that the dog probably wasn't just firing through the remainder of the Derby after picking up that illness. And I said to him, he probably said to himself, I'm not going to take a chance with these dogs. If they're not fully right, why run them through a Kirby or try and run them through a Kirby? We have a big year ahead.
Yeah, exactly. And look, it's a bit unfortunate. You don't get too many chances to run in stakes where, 80 grand to the winner or whatever. But like, it's a bit of a shame, but at the same time, like, it's an easy decision, really. I mean, it's the right thing to do for the dog. I mean, Pat Kilfoyle is far too good to be thinking he can risk good dogs of that quality to run and be under the weather. It does leave a mark. I don't care what anybody says. If you run when you're not, it's like if you do anything yourself and you're not feeling the best, it'll take longer to recover if you push yourself through it. So it's the right thing to do. It's a little bit unfortunate, but like what Mike said, the weekend was insanely busy with good racing.
Yeah, like there was bits and pieces on Friday with the Calman Cup and the unraced bitch stake down at Newbridge, but Saturday night was just crazy, as you say yourself. Like in Shelbourne Park, when you arrive in, they offer you all the cards for the intertracks, and there was three there. There was Limerick, Cork, and Waterford. You couldn't leave one behind because you wanted to keep up to date with it all. And yeah, as it was, we saw great racing through the three tracks. And of course, Shelbourne Park. We'll get to the other tracks a little bit later on. Yeah. We'll give them a brief mention because we are talking Kirby this morning. Mike, is it safe to say this is as strong as any Kirby we've seen?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, we're early days yet. I mean, it's such an established competition now. You seem to forget that it's only its ninth running. It started in 2013. Roxanne Billy won it for McKenna. But I mean, it's so set in stone as being like, everybody looks towards the Kirby now. You'd think it's really like an old classic. We had the 600 run this weekend. I think that's one of the oldest ran in the calendar. It started in 1964. The Kirby is a relatively young competition, but it's already gained so much momentum for the young pups and where trainers plan out their kind of year. And we've got a really good crop this year. I mean, you'd hate to say that our juvenile would be a kind of feeder for the Kirby, but it kind of looks like that. That's the way it's happening.
Yeah, I know. Isn't it? A top class classic for the unraced greyhounds, and you're talking about a feeder for the Kirby. I understand where you're coming from, Tommy. It's almost changed the way people, look at the way they produce pups in terms of buy pups, whatnot. There used to be a time, are they October whelps? You get into the puppy derby, then it became a juvenile derby, September whelps, and now all of a sudden the Kirby's on the scene, and people don't want them unless they're they're Januaries. That's the way it's gone. And people buying dogs, if they're Decembers, they go, I'm not sure he's worth the same money. If he was a January, I'd pay that extra few quid.
It definitely gives a little bit of definition to the different generations. Whereas in the past, you would have just said, come as they like, whatever age they are, it doesn't matter. We'll find a way to campaign them. But now there's such good money, and it's like the definition is important, and it's just a fabulous start to every year. The way when we don't even, I can't even say that we get that much of a lull, but let's say in theory, even though there are really good competition at the very end of the year, even if in theory some of the dogs that are in the top competition in Shelbourne get a small bit of a rest, maybe late in the year. Like there's a lot of dogs that really good quality dogs that are coming out straight away. There's just no stopping anymore. It kind of runs through. But the definition for the pups with the Juvenile Classic, followed on by the Kirby, and say it's a feeder is fine. It's perfectly fine because the quality that goes to Tralee is ridiculous. We know that from year in, year out, and the quality that goes to Limerick is the same. So it's a fabulous start to the year.
Yeah, I suppose the calendar has a much more structured feel to it in recent years because of the way the unraced stakes, Clonmel and Tralee, especially in the early part of the year, you have a few more littered throughout the early part of the year. But then it's, well, you don't even ask them, where do you go now? Some may decide to skip the Kirby, perhaps their dog's not ready or whatnot. But the vast majority will go, well, now it's obviously to the Kirby and then the produce stakes. And then all of a sudden they've had 10, 12, 13 races, some of them, if they're lucky enough to have gone a few rounds in all the various stakes. They're all of a sudden nearly complete athletes. Now it's time we can take on the all-age company a little bit later in the year. We can start campaigning towards a Champions Stakes, Derby, Laurels, Ledger, whichever way you want to go. It gives certainly if you have a January or younger whelp, it sets up the year for you.
There's a good separation. Yeah, sorry, Mike. There's a good separation in the competitions. Like if you have a dog that's an early in the year, January, February, March, well, you can get to this competition, but then you've got that extra 6 months to the Derby by the time you finish it. So you're talking about 2.5 years. Okay, maybe ideally you want to be close to 3, or in the case of Susie Sapphire, it doesn't really matter. But in general, to give them a bit of time to mature, to be a Derby dog. So as I said, there's a great clarity, great definition to it at the moment.
Yeah, indeed, Mike. And it all starts in Tralee for you.
Yeah, it's not easy to do an open race calendar for the whole country. You've got to take your hat off to the guys up in Limerick or Dublin, wherever they do it, and sit down and get that right. Now, how much planning went into the juvenile before the Kirby and before the Kirby happened, but it does work well, and it's not an easy task to do that. Our race of champions last year clashed a little bit with the English Derby and stuff like that. That helped, so maybe we could slot that into a better slot. But on a whole, like, the calendar really just falls into itself month after month after month, and this being a classic example, the first 2-3 months of the year, you know what you're going to be talking about. So
It's funny you mentioned there the English Derby as well. Like, it even sits well with the English Derby. A lot of these dogs will go to England.
Yep. I mean, you couldn't have 3 more different tracks, could you? You've got a really good greyhound if you're doing well at Tralee, Limerick, and then Toaster. So you've got a machine if you can run all 3 of them.
We have to start looking at Saturday night seats. In all, am I right in saying I think I have it down to 6 winners under 28.30? And while there were some fine displays, you can't say there was one real standout. There's obviously so many that stood out. We wait for the 1 or 2, maybe 3 dogs that will burst from the pack and stand out in the coming weeks. But there was so much to like. It all kicked off. You mentioned them already, Mike Kilgraney, Sydney. I just love this fellow's profile in the sense where Son of Druppy Sydney in March 20, it was his 8th start the other night. I was going to say he made a slow start to his career. He was thrown in as an unraced dog into National Puppy Stake and ran well through that stake. But he was he 4-0 or 5-0? And then all of a sudden, he was 4-0. Then all of a sudden, he improved his trapping on January 22nd. Boom, away 28.63. The next night, even faster at the boxes, 212, 28.49. And then the last night, he took on a really top-class card or field at Shelbourne Park. Away 209, 28.32. And then he arrives into the Kirby. Trap 1, obviously, ideally suited to him. But bang, away and gone. 12 lengths, 28.24. He's a very, very progressive greyhound, Tommy. He's a dog with I don't know where the ceiling is. If he continues to improve, he could be anything. Yeah,
he definitely is. I mean, I suppose it's the case with most of them. We don't really know where the ceiling is yet. But like you said, he'd obviously been showing a serious amount in unraced. He went into a good unraced or a good novice race in Shelbourne, as you said. He went into the National Puppy Stake. He was competing in real hot company. No surprise, he got a break from late November until January, and not surprised to see a nice bit of development in that short period. Like nice bit of maturity coming. I think oftentimes when they get a break after maybe 3 or 4 races, it just gives them time to soak up what they've learned from their racing. Give them that little bit of time to kind of to almost just adapt to what's been happening for them. And he's looked pretty smart. 129 section was pretty good. wasn't the quickest. But it was a pretty good, and he was in complete control. So, like you said, the first round is very difficult to get a handle on properly because so many of them are doing so much. It's only when they start to tighten up, the heat started to tighten up, and they started coming together that we really figure out, where the cream is. It'll rise to the top as we go on. But
and that's the time when also the strong runners get that chance in behind dogs when they're, the likes of I'll skip forward to a Hoodoo Brown, shall we say, when he starts taking on the red hot performers, and he's got 4 or 5 dogs out in front of him, and he can start picking his holes rather than taking on the lesser greyhound, shall we say. And then it's by only about the third bend that he can start getting moving, whereas the likes of him can start moving from as early as the first or second bend in better company.
There was hardly.
Sorry, Tony. If there's lots of performances in behind good winners that you've got to pay attention to after the first round. In the opening heat there, Ballymach Ben came from a long way. He was never going to get to the leader, but he came from miles behind to qualify. I remember, I think the first round of the Kirby was one of the first Talking Dogs podcasts I did last year, and we were mentioning about the third bend sectional, and I think that's really important in this sweep. The third bend sectional, he did Kilgraney Sydney did 16:03, which was one of the fastest. It wasn't the fastest, but one of the fastest. But it was very impressive. As soon as he went to the first bend, there was no trouble in the race. Away and gone. Ballymach Ben in second, and Shankold Johnny railed nicely, and held on for a place in third position to qualify. But no, you can't be anything but impressed with Kilgraney Sydney.
I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll try and touch on the winners and maybe one other in each of the heats, unless something else jumped out. And then we'll come back to dogs that sort of caught the eye off the pace a little bit. Onto the second heat, Storage Rex. You know, he's raced 8 times, Tommy. He's won 5 and been second on the other 3 occasions. In terms of the clock, it wasn't the fastest, 4:19, 16:14, 28:48. But the way he quickened from the first bend to the second bend to put all of a sudden 3 lengths between himself and his rivals was pretty impressive. He held that 3 lengths all the way to the line. He's a dog that he's a dog that certainly improved for his first look at Limerick. Who's to say he won't improve again for another look or two?
Yeah, like if you go back to the form there, his last run in Shelbourne Park was behind Kilgraney Sydney, the first heat winner, beating a short head. You know, that's the type of quality he is.
And he was the unlucky dog in that race.
And he did a 2:07 there, which equates to a lot better than the 1:39, which he did the other night. So I'd expect a nice bit of improvement from him. So it was a perfectly good start. You'd have to be delighted with it. I know he was an odds-on chance, and you expect him to win a shade comfortably. But it was a lovely start, and I like that. I think he'll improve.
Encouraging start for Disco Pants. Mike, you'd be familiar with this one.
Yeah, he's nice dog. He showed good early pace. Turned second to the end. He was never going to get to the leader, was he? The leader was very similar to the heat winner, but it was almost a similar type of race.
Not too many would get to the leader, in fairness.
No, I've got Disco Pants early pace, slightly crowded at the first bend, but turned second, and then just held his position and went down by 3 lengths. You'd be, if you were owners, there's John Breen and Connor Healy of Castle Island over that one, you'd be more than delighted into the hat for the next round.
Yeah, Ballymore Border was third, and Burnchurch Best was the best of the rest in fourth. That will progress. But, you know, it's really all about focusing on Swords Rex. You were impressed, Mike.
Yeah, I mean, again, the sectionals are going to 16:14 into the third bend, which would have been mid-range of the night that was in, and he did it unchallenged. He's got a 28:01 around Clonmel, which obviously isn't hanging around. So he could probably go a bit quicker than that 28:48 suggests last night.
Yeah, as Tommy said, I won 1:39. You'd be expecting him to do a 1:25 at some point. No, I think it was just normal.
Just normal, yeah. Okay.
Tommy, moving on to Heat 3, where this was very much, actually, we probably should say with Mike here, Drubys Edison and Coulivanny Hoffa first and second. This was the juvenile form on offer. And the last time they met, Drubys Edison finished in front of Coulivanny Hoffa. It was a similar scenario, but you can see both of them going a long way in this competition, Mike. Drubys Edison, he's impressing me every time he goes to the track. I think he's improving all the time. He's only in August 20, son of Burgess Books at a Drubys Blossom. So, you know, as a dam, she's certainly proven, and Burgess Books has made a great start to his career at stud. Just a lot to like about him. He goes up well. He didn't take a flyer, but he did a 4:17. He had 16 seconds to the third bend, so he's really trucking along. He needed to though, because Coulivanny Hoffa in the end has only beaten 2 lengths. Just goes to show the pace he has to be as close as he was at the finish to Drubys Edison, who's doing 28:27.
Yeah, I think the thing to take out of this is he trapped averagely 4:17 to the second sectional, but it's the pace he shows into that sectional to the first bend, which got him away from the pack. Absolutely flew from kind of halfway down the home straight into the opening corner. That 16 seconds at this, I'm calling it the third bend section. I'm guessing it must be somewhere around the third bend or down the back straight somewhere.
Yeah.
It was the second fastest of the night. So that shows how much he was really motoring. Didn't really come back to Coulivanny Hoffa. If you're the owners of Coulivanny Hoffa, you'd be happy out. I've had a little investment on it at 20s anti-post. He just didn't seem to make any inroads into the leader, but you'd say job done, happy out.
Yeah, for Coulivanny Hoffa, the key to his success in this competition, or potential success is going to be his trapping. If he can find just that extra half length at boxes, he just tends to give his rivals that yard, and he's trying to play catch up. When he hits it, I don't think there's anything as fast really to the third bend.
No, you've got to remember that last night, Saturday night, was only his 5th race. So he's still got, we've still got plenty of improvement in. He's a June 20 whelp. So obviously, he's got age on his side as well. We talked about him a couple of weeks ago on the podcast. I'm very keen on him. I like him. He's a handsome dog, and hopefully he'll progress a bit more. But 16 seconds to the sectional by Droopy's Edison was very impressive.
Tommy, 2 dogs you'd expect to go far.
Oh, I was impressed with Kilcohan Park. I thought he did make inroads on to Droopy's Edison. I think he kind of moved up to the tail of the dog in front at the second bend, moved a little bit wide down the back, and then moved back in again at the third bend, and where he basically ran up the back of the dog without actually hitting into him. He was eyeing the dog in front and had just ran up the back of him. I thought he showed huge pace at Kilcohan Park, considering it was one in 28:27, which is only a length and a half off the fastest time of the round, or a little bit more maybe. I thought it was a fantastic effort by both of them. I think they're 2 serious dogs.
Yeah, we're going to come back to this heat. The 2 other qualifiers were Story's Archie and Emily's Jet, and Emily's Jet obviously only had it in the second race. But I want to come back to touch on another one in the race. But we'll be coming back and talk about eye catchers in the time. One that didn't qualify there, Wide Open. We'll come back to her. On to heat 4, the Con Annie Kirby Memorial. It was cut up. 2 and 3 were both non-runners, Silent Guest and Ballymac. Harvey ran it instead of them. But this was one where Bobsleigh Dream was the red hot favourite after her track record breaking run at Tralee, and of course her superb form around Shelbourne Park. But it didn't happen for her. She just didn't get away racing and found herself sort of pinned to the fence on the corner when sort of things were happening. In contrast, Glengar Scholar, who did come in for support in the anti-post market, it's no surprise given the fact that he did a 16:07 to the third bend, a 4:17 into the opening bend. Fast away always led, wins by 10.5 and 28:24. That's a good start to his Kirby campaign. Another son of Burgess Books, Tommy, very impressive from Glengar Scholar. I thought in Tralee he was going to be a dog that probably wanted further. He may still want a 550 in time, but probably the bigger galloping nature of Limerick will suit him better than Tralee.
Probably wants a long run up as well. Just that he's not electric out of traps. He has lovely injection of pace, all right. I was quite impressed with this. I was surprised that the returned SP 9-4 compared to a 4-7 for Bobsleigh Dream. I'm not sure where that came about. I thought he had definitely shown enough in the Juvenile Classic to say he was a serious pup in the making. Like Bobsleigh Dream, I can't tally, and I don't understand the track record in Tralee for the sense that there's been a lot of good dogs running there for a very long time, and how the track record didn't come over the past few years to be lower than it is. So I don't want to run her down because it's still a fabulous effort. But she was positioned well enough to qualify and then got badly cut off, and she was just a bit unlucky. But she wasn't going to win, I don't think. Once Glengar Scholar has showed that extra bit of acceleration to clear the bit.
Once Scholar goes to the front, forget about it.
The track record in Tralee, Tommy, that's hardly ever used that distance. Very, very rarely 570. We'd only have one 570 sweep over the year, and they're for A3 dogs, I think. She was unlucky. I agree with you. I don't know where the 4-7 came from. I wouldn't have priced it up at 4-7. But she broke second from the traps, and then as soon as she got to the bend, the door was shut on her, and she had nowhere to go. Absolutely nowhere to go, and just actually stumbled approaching into the second bend. And then her race was won. The winner showed really good early pace into the corner, pulled away 16:07. Pat Buckley's got a very, very strong hand this year. He's won it 3 times. He knows how to get a dog ready for this sweepstakes. So he's going to be mob-handed going into the next round. So, but Glengar Scholar was nice. 4:17, which isn't electric to the second sectional, but the 16:07 he's obviously pulled away from there.
Yeah, fast greyhound. I really like the way he moves down the back straight and home. Toolmaker Wild stayed on very strongly for second, but be it 10.5 lengths behind the leader. Glengar Jenny, another one for Pat Buckley, was third, and fourth qualifier there was or potential qualifier, I didn't check if he actually went through, was Silent Guest. He came in as a reserve for Owen McKenna. On to Heat 5. There's not an awful lot to say about here. Trap 5, Nazareth, came into 5 as a reserve. He was the key to the race because he certainly doesn't want to be out in Trap 5, Tommy. He just cut left turn Clive all the way to the corner. Trap 6, Tommy Too Many. You can't have too many free yards to yourself, and he hit the front just on the corner. Took him all the run in or the run up to get into the front. Once going to the front, he eased on to win by 6 lengths. I don't think there'll be any Kirby winner coming out of this heat, but it was a good display by Tommy Too Many.
Yeah, it was, Ian, because you still have to do 28.43. He's not an electric trapper. He showed a nice bit of pace to get up and cut across at the first bend, and you know. This will tell you and I don't think that Tommy Too Many is going to feature maybe towards the latter stage of the competition, but yet he's doing 28.43, so that'll tell you the depth of the entire competition.
Yeah, we've mentioned a few stud dogs, and I have to give Dorota's Woohoo a mention because from very few pitches, he's thrown 1 or 2 very fast greyhounds. You know, Tommy Too Many did 28.43. I'd say he's a dog that'll probably stay a little bit further. Just one to keep an eye on in the future. But again, those Dorota's Woohoos, they do tend to sort of just, punch above their weight. Mike, no Kirby winner in this.
No, but if you were the owner of Tommy Too Many, it's a syndicate, the Moydra Massive Syndicate, you'd be happy because there's not many wides left in the competition. I think there must be only 4 or 5 wides left in the competition. So we couldn't.
There wasn't that many to start with, I suppose.
Yeah, I think there was only like 7 or 8, was it something like that? But yeah, he pulled away. He did his job well, didn't he? I think experience that counts in that race. They all win is that bend a little bit green, some of them, and that was his 11th race tonight. So maybe just experience and knowledge of the track helped on that occasion.
Yeah, a lot to like about Tommy Too Many. Keep an eye on him. You never know where he might go. Crypto Punk was only having he was actually having his racing debut, qualified in fine style. He overcame sort of the crowding on the inside to come through for second spot. There's plenty more to come from him, for Graham Holland, for Simon Taylor. They've had 1 or 2 decent ones in the past. Ring of Bella Boy stayed on well for 3rd. Ballymac Curtis was back in 4th. On to Heat 6, where the other Kobe, from being sort of 3rd or 4th light in the litter, is all of a sudden starting to take off. He was thrown in the deep end in his racing debut behind Kilgrany Sydney and the likes of Swords Rex in that red hot contest in Shelbourne Park. He raced from trap 5. Even that first night, it was very clear there's only one jacket this fella wants to wear, and it ain't blue, it's red. Pure as. He is he's dead railer already at this early stage in his career. You know exactly where he wants to be. He has since gone unbeaten. Following that debut, he won in 28.51 at Limerick, 28.61 in Limerick last time, and at this occasion 28.39. He was the best drawn dog of the race of the entire round. 4.16, 16.06, 28.39. Just a very likable display from a dog that continues to improve. Who knows where he'll end up? Magical Cuba, one of the few that Pat Guilfoyle kept in the competition. I thought he showed loads of pace down the back straight, stayed on well. Mike, I heard you referencing him in the Balnabula Ed commentary. You said this could be a good race, so you know how strong he is.
Absolutely. I think this is a race we could come back to and see, to pick a few out of here that might go forward. Magical Cuba, I think, was very impressive. He was so wide down the back straight. That's my only concern as to how wide he actually runs down there. He got a clear run, but he was absolutely flying home. He was eating up ground, just like he did in Tralee. I'm quite keen on the other Kobe as well, Jennifer O'Donnell's dog. It's quite clever the way she's kind of done his preparation into the sweepstake. 2 wins around Limerick. He ran the place as if he knew it really, really well. For a dog that's only his 4th start, he's won 3 from 4 now. Railed so tightly, didn't he? I mean, you'd be concerned if he was anything but 1 or 2. It wasn't the fastest heat winner, but again, impressive, very impressive by both of those greyhounds. I like both of them. I think Karen Toole ran on for 3rd place there.
Yeah, he's very fast down the back, and he stays on a bit. And Karen Toole has just that first few strides, he can be caught out. Tommy, the other Kobe, if you were connected with him, you'd be just happy the way he's progressing.
You would, yeah. I thought he was smashing. Is he a half brother to Scooby Prince? I like the performance. I like both performances, the winner and the runner-up. The winner purely because he's just giving nothing away at any stage of any race, and if he progresses and he gets an inside draw, they're going to have to do a bit of work to get around him, because he's going to go better than 28.39. I don't think there's any doubt about that. Magical Cuba, I think he was so wide the other night purely because there were so many dogs inside him as he rounded the first 2 bends, and he tracked them really well, because he could easily lose a lot of ground there going where he did. But he found himself coming out of the second bend very, very wide, and stayed there before he decided to move in a bit, at the 3rd bend. Whereas if you watch his previous race, when there weren't dogs inside him, he was more middle than really wide. So I actually think I was widely impressed with him, the pace that he showed because of that. Because it was circumstance. Now, as the competition gets hotter, the circumstances are going to be the same. He is going to be forced wide because there's so much depth in it. There's going to be a lot of pace inside him in most races. So he is
unless he finds himself in a round where the other Kobe's in 5.
yeah. Maybe they had Nazareth back into the race.
Yeah, sorry, I was speaking nonsense there at the start. I didn't realize. I just automatically assumed it was in my head. I don't know why. I thought the other Kobe was a member of the Scooby Prince litter. He's actually Ballymac best out of Mount Taylor Queen. So Mount Taylor Queen is the grandam of Scooby Prince and them, because Whiting's Gift is out of Mount Taylor Queen, so they would be closely related. But yeah, very nice dog. And then Karen Tuchel third. The other Oak Front Cadet was back in fourth spot. On to Heat 7. We're flying at this stage. Mike, certainly no surprise from you, Balnabola Ed. This is a proper greyhound. The only thing I'll say about it is very impressive in victory. He got a length that boxes on Kildare. Kildare's right on his heels. An unraced dog at the opening corner. I suppose Balnabola Ed certainly has the engine and the pace. It's a question of whether his early speed will stand up going forward. 301 in Tralee is really trucking, I know that, but I just wonder when the real early speed is up against him, where he will sort of stand into the opening corner. There's no questioning his engine. He's a massively fast greyhound. 28.23 off a 4.19 and a 16.04. So much to like about him. Kildare, there was a few nibbles for this fellow in the anti-post market as an unraced greyhound. You can see why he ran an unbelievable race to the last bend. Just didn't find an awful lot coming home. But that's, you got a track record holder in front of you who stays every inch of the 5.25, will stay every inch of 5.50 and perhaps even further. So I thought it was a big run by first and a big run by second one as well.
Yeah, Ballinabula Ed. I mean, you'd appreciate this, and Tommy, commentator's nightmare, 6 syllables. It's it's like, it's a tough one when they're flying down the back straight. But no, very impressive in Tralee when he did the clock on a fast track that night. Another Pat Buckley trained greyhound that's gone into the hat for the next round. Promising to have a very big career, isn't he? I mean, he did absolutely nothing wrong. He has a kind of his stride into the first bend. It just doesn't look really quick, but it is quick, you know what I mean? So again, very, very young pup, 4th race, and I'm just looking at here in the replay. 5 did well, actually. He kind of changed lanes, 5 at the 3rd bend, and then obviously because we found trouble at the 1st bend, he was a bit tired, but he went on to he'll do well. Kildare again. Some of these dogs are making their debut. That was his debut on Saturday night, so that's pretty impressive to be. What was he? 5.5 lengths behind a new track record holder. Very impressive. And
when a proud lily white like Aidan Comerford is naming a dog Kildare, Tommy, you can be fairly sure he thinks it's fairly useful.
Yeah, very much so. The Ballinaball Ed, he looks like he's wearing a hood, doesn't he? For Ballantyre, maybe he'd steal it.
Whatever a bit is about them, coloured dogs like that, they just look like they float across the ground, and he's another one of them. He just looks the most fluent, beautiful greyhound.
Yeah, he did. He kind of eased across reasonably early in the race as well, and he was able to clear Kildare. Obviously, he got a better start. You'd have to be impressed with both of them. Kildare was doing 28.61 on debut in hot competition. Now, it was a 4-dog race, and I suppose he'd have to learn quickly and improve for next week, because it's going to get an awful lot tougher. But the winner's just progressive. Obviously, clearly, really, really fast dog.
Yeah, I know. We're talking about the Kirby and all, but 550 yards around Shelbourne Park is made from, really, isn't it? Moving on. We have to mention the other two there. Sorry, Borna Snapper was back in 3rd, but the long way back, and Lujaneo back in 4th spot. On to Heat 8, where Deadly Showtime set the standard, ladies and gentlemen. 404, 15.93. Like, that is absolutely racing, as we know from last year's Kirby. Anything under 16 seconds, you can be absolutely certain, is flying. 28.16. Carol Ramsbottom and Gary Hannon, they've unveiled another one. We've known for quite some time that this fellow is very talented. He does have one or two little issues on his card. He pulled up one night in Shelbourne Park, you'd have to be concerned about, but that was probably down to inexperience. And just ever since then, he's been pretty much solid. A big run at Dundalk in the Kirby Memorial Trial Stake, and here we are setting the standard in the opening round. He hit the lids, went hard into the corner, flew down the back, and stays on really strongly. It was just a very taking display, Tommy.
He's as quirky as he is talented. I mean, he's twice he didn't finish. Another time he's beaten 20-something lengths, and then you look at him, and he went into the 5.75 in Curraheen Park. He won the first round heat. He's beaten caught late. You know, for a young pup, only caught late by Droopy Sputnik, a dog of that ability. He was in the final then, he was beaten a long way. And like, he's got immense talent. And like, there's obviously an associated risk, but if you could find a bit of consistency, he'd be a serious player in any competition. This competition, certainly, like the 119 section is serious. I don't know if maybe Mike has the rest of them there. Like
he's a 4:04 and fastest time of the night, 15:93.
You said the 4:04 to 119. It's like it's serious. But like then you see the two DNFs and the beat. And
whenever I see like a 125 or a 126 in Limerick, as you look and looking through form and whatnot, you go, well, that's a good starter.
What were the DNFs?
To do a 119 is pretty rocket, huh?
What were the DNFs?
He pulled up.
Just pulled up.
Wow.
Yeah,
okay.
Pulled up. Yeah. Okay. There's no question about it. Like he's had his issues, but when you look at his card, he has a 31.16 for 575 yards. He's now a 28.16 for 525 yards. He has an 18.61 trial at Shelbourne Park for the sprint. He just has it everywhere. He's clearly just a very talented greyhound. Obviously there has been quirks, but he's been pretty good in recent times, Tommy.
Oh, he has. No. I'm just, the only reason I'm pointing out is because if somebody's thinking about backing him on the back of that run, you have to kind of, get all the evidence in front of you before you do that. He is seriously fast. He's lightning early. The funny thing about these sections, you always find too, when a dog does something like that at 119, like he's not miles ahead of Lenson on Ice or Ballymacleon. He's not actually miles ahead of them. They actually did good sections as well. But I'm just saying, like in the two runs where he didn't finish, he turned in maybe third place at the second bend and just kind of went backwards very quickly from the second bend. It was just bizarre.
Yeah.
But when he's on that sort of form, and in fairness to Carl, like he's got him doing it. There's nothing wrong with the Benalmadine or Roxy run behind in Clonmel. There's certainly nothing wrong with the win in Dundalk and the win on the other night. Now he's a young dog, and maybe he just matured a bit too. So maybe he will turn into be a superstar, and all that'll be quickly forgotten. So
our respective wives are waiting for us to mature at this stage, and like we're definitely well into our 30s.
Not going to happen, Ian.
I think you can look at Ballymacleon.
I was just going to mention him there, Mike.
Left at the traps.
He's a son of Ballymac Anton out of Kilcohan Pet. He's only had the 4 starts now. It was a good run the other night. He had to wait for gaps. He had to force himself through gaps. But a Kilcohan Pet, after 4 starts, Pastana didn't look as talented as this fella does. I think our progeny do appreciate a few runs and improve. So he could be anything going forward.
Absolutely. He's really clever at the first bend, He's left at the traps. And for a dog, what is he, at June 20, again, only his 4th run, he sees a gap in the fence and he goes for it. And then down the back straight, he moves back out to his wide position where he probably needs to be. And then absolutely very, very strong coming home. Really determined run to get second place. He's one that will definitely improve. You like him, Tommy? Yeah, I do like him. He broke perfectly well. Just got a little bit outpacing in a red hot early a race. He was just leaning in a little bit at the first bend, trying to round it as tightly as he could, from his position, and just got held up a little bit. I thought he's seriously fast, but just needs to hold a better position early if he can. Yeah, 28.72 he's doing. He's beaten 8 lengths. And when you think you're beating 8 lengths, you're still doing 28.72. Lenson on ice. I thought it was a perfectly fine display by him. He's a dog who we saw in the Juvenile Derby final or Juvenile Classic final, showing great early speed against some really top class performers. He was only picked up late in that contest. On this occasion, he probably did a mid 120s. Bear with me. He did a one. What did he do, Tommy? 1, 2, 3. Like 1, 2, 3. Like that would lead up 95% of races, in any company around Limerick. Just so happens he ran into Deadly Showtime, so he clearly has the early speed to challenge these very good greyhounds. When he didn't lead, he's probably very much a dog that needs to lead. He did okay. He finishes 3rd. He's doing 28.82, but I think there's far better to come from him. He's probably had no chance to have a look at Limerick, so I can assume that every time he does, he'll improve for it. Good display by him. And back in 4th was Toolmaker Beach. He's a very strong runner. He was doing his best work late, 28.93. I think that will see him through to the next round. On to Heat 9, where, well, the absence of Magical Mary really did sort of disappoint a little bit, because it really was shaping up like the heat of the round. As it was, she would have been in the ideal position. Emer's Spike from Trap 2 did take up the running on the opening corner. Scooby Prince just didn't quite get to the bend despite making a fast start. Hasn't happened for him this year. Hasn't kicked on like I thought he would after winning the National Puppy Stake. It may still come, but just not quite driving it. Just the
not getting to that corner, not getting out in front and doing things the way he can. He did qualify back in third, but it was Crafty Kokoro, a bitch that we've spoken of plenty of times in the past, Tommy, that came through. Emer's Spike took up the running off the sort of just going on to the second bend from Scooby Prince, and Fernandez made big ground up after a slow start. That's the way he's been, unfortunately, thus far in his career. He just hasn't quite got his trapping in order. He's loads of gears, but it was Crafty Kokoro. Despite being held up at the opening corner, as Price's King was forced to check off wide, she found herself off the tail of the field, but never too far off the pace. And you were sort of expecting her to come with that late charge. On the line, I actually, from the angle, I didn't realize it was as big as half a length. I thought it was desperately tight. It didn't look like a half a length.
Yeah.
But such is the speed that she's finishing. Often it can sort of trick eyes. But wow, she has some engine, Tommy.
Yeah, like she's only beaten one of her races there last year in a 5.75. She's not beaten that far behind. All about Jacob Tash, like Swords Maestro. That's the type of competition she was in against. So all of a sudden she's back against Puppy Company. Now look, it wasn't a fast heat. It wasn't a fast heat by any means, and she did get a little bit of trouble, but just showed a great attitude and all her pace. We've seen it a few times. Scooby Prince, like you said, it might take a little bit more time to get back to his best.
Mike.
Yeah, it was it was one of the slower heats, but it was one of the most exciting races. There's 4 turning for home without a doubt. They all had chances. Scooby Prince a bit disappointed that he didn't drive into the bend. I would have thought if he was half a length going into the first corner, he'd pull away from 2. Crafty Kokoro got a great run around the final bend up the inside, and I wouldn't want to see her hurt any further out than that. She needs to be inside.
I want to say one thing there. Emer's Spike, Owen McKenna has him. I've spoken to Owen a few times about this dog. He thinks he's absolutely unbelievable early. He says he hasn't trapped. He says he traps at home. He said he traps on unofficials. He says he just hasn't trapped in the track. He says, but this fellow can absolutely fly to the third bend. And he did show signs of it in Clonmel. And then the other night, showed good early speed to get up inside Scooby Prince. So let's not take away too much from Scooby Prince in a sense where it probably is a very fast early pace dog getting up his inside.
Yeah, trap 2. I just watched the replay here, Ian, and trap 2, Emer's Spike comes out in his nose. Actually, he didn't actually go up with the lids. 6 made up, got a lot of ground to qualify as well. The Fernandez dog on the outside was left at the start, made up a load of ground down the back straight. But it's an exciting race. It's a neutral punt boy. It was a great race. Yeah,
Fernandez only had the 3 starts in Ireland. He actually was thrown in the deep end. His first run was in the first round of the English Puppy Derby. They just brought him over as an unraced dog. They were heading over, and he showed loads of pace around Toaster. And again, he's showing loads of pace at Shelbourne Park, but just his trapping is letting him down. He's gonna need to find a landing gear, or else he'll be in trouble. But Crafty Kokoro, an exceptionally fast lady, we know that. I think she definitely comes into the category of the better the company, the better she'll be.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not sure if the winner of the Kirby is going to come out of this heat, but she's going to get better. 12th race, so she's got a bit of experience on her hands on her side as well.
I would like to be laying her. That's all I'm saying. I know how quick she is. On to heat 10. It was sort of pretty uneventful contest. Melody's Vim got to the front, and while he never stretched away, he never really seemed to be, for all intents and purposes, it didn't look like he was really striding out. It was sort of a scratchy action out front, but he had enough to hold on from Serene Tiger all the way through and pulled away in the closing yards to win by a couple of lengths. Siam's a Magic, who's a dog that probably has a future over further, was back in third, but hard to see a Kirby winner coming out of this one, Tommy.
Yeah, I think if you swap the traps, you swap the result as well. Serene Tiger seemed to lean in a lot, kind of just has shown a preference for the rails. And then when he got into the rails at the last bend, when actually Melody Vim had asserted a little bit, he switched back out again. so it was like he finally got what he wanted. It was a bit too late. Like you said, Ian, I didn't think it was a good competitive heat, because there were a lot of runaway winners. So there were 2 or 3 heats that were actually quite competitive most of the way. It was a decent performance, but it looks like there's another step required to get competitive later on.
Agreed, Mike?
Yeah, it was a 2-dog match race. As soon as they turned around the first bend, there was nothing. The Troop 3 was finishing quite strong to get up for third place, but once Melody's Vim turned in front, I think the right one was on the wall. The times were back 16:40, 4:27. The winner was 28:79, so they'll need to improve. I think Melody's Vim is possibly a bit quicker than what he's done so far. There might be a bit of improvement in from what I'm hearing down south here.
Okay, we'll keep in mind.
Lengths down to is it 49 spots from the best time down to the third bend.
Yeah, way back.
We'll move on to Heat 11. This was, we don't have to talk too much about this. It was a very, very messy affair. Obviously there was a bit of a melee on the opening corner. And the winner was Druppies Pilgrim, left in front on that opening bend, went on to win it 29-23, easily the slowest of the round. But there is a dog in here I did want to mention, the Savannah Hero. He did a 29-27 round toaster as a very inexperienced tracker. He looks very, very quick indeed. He's a half share with Kevin Boothby. I'm sure he'll be heading to the English Derby. I thought he showed plenty of pace in defeat. I just don't be surprised if he goes a full second faster next night.
Yeah, took a bad bump at the first bend and did well to qualify. Didn't really trap very well, but showed good pace into the opening corner and just got squeezed to run by 4 and 6. And unfortunately, 4 was knocked over. But the dog you mentioned, Savannah Hero, rode a bump on the second bend as well. So did really well to qualify. And the winner, that was an upset. That was 10-1 winner, Druppies Pilgrim.
He has a 4-10 round toaster. That's like a 120 in Limerick. So just don't be surprised if Savannah took a flyer. Tommy, and nothing really to add from that heat.
No, the Savannah dog caught my eye. He did look like an 81-pound dog the other night, but I think that's just getting a run around. He kind of, he looked a little bit sluggish there. He moved right out of traps and showed pace up, got squeezed, got done again twice, 3 times. He just looked like he's a big dog that will mature, but I think he's seriously fast. Really, really properly fast.
Yeah, I think you could be right. Moving on to Heat 12, a dog that is seriously fast, and a dog that the connections feel is seriously fast because he came in for pound, shillings, and pence in the anti-post book. Clear favourite in the anti-post book, the Bold Freddy. There was plenty bold about him again the other night. Fast away, led all, did it well in 28-48. I must say I was expecting a little bit faster from him, and given the fact that all the money came from him, I thought he'd be tuned to really fly. But a good run. Townview Sid did little wrong in second spot, and just his second career start, he's only beaten 2.5 lengths by the anti-post favourite. You'd have to hold a lot of encouragement for him. And Flick of a Coin was having just his second career start also. I think he got a little bit lost on the opening corner, but ran well to finish third. The Bold Freddy, Tommy, while he impressed, there's definitely an asterisk in the sense where room for improvement.
Yeah, there is, but you'd love the way he railed again, and he's been to Shelbourne Park, he's been to Tralee, he's probably looking around there. He's inexperienced around the track, and yet he ran it very, very well. I came away with Townview Sid in big black capitals. I thought that was a huge effort in defeat. Again, it's 28-65, and you'll probably have to take 30-40 spots off it, but I think he will. I think that looks like a proper litter, doesn't it? The Follies View litter, Druppies Sydney Follies View looks like a serious litter.
They've been producing good ones down there for the last couple of years, and everything they've produced, or should I say, all the good ones they've had have been generally their own breed. Is he a half brother to the Machine? Would that be right?
The Machine, is he Follies? Yeah, probably is. Yeah, well.
No, he's out of Precious Story. He was out of Precious Story, was he?
Was it?
You'd be concerned about the Freddy going forward if you had big investment on an anti-post, because if he got, I think he's got trap 1 in the next round, which is good for them. But if he got 4 any occasion, you'd be really worried, wouldn't you? I think when he came down to Tralee, he was heavily backed each night that he ran down in our place, and just put in a slow start in the semi-final of the juvenile. But I was impressed with him on Saturday night. If you see, he was first to the drop by a long, long way as well. Stays every yard. They're making some trip down, aren't they? Isn't it Tyrone they're coming from every night?
Yeah.
So it's a journey and a half, but obviously it doesn't affect him. I thought the sectional would be quicker. It looked quicker to the eye, but it was only 4:22 and a 16:22 to the back straight sectional. But going forward, you'd really have your fingers crossed every time they do the trap draw.
Yeah. I've seen enough. I have a feeling he'd be relatively straight and then edge in when he gets room. I just think he's one of those. A good litter. Liam Dowling again producing another fast litter. His brother Dealish Frankie won the Monmore Puppy Cup last year, Monmore Puppy Derby last week. So, clearly a very fast litter. The Bold Freddy, though, very likeable start to his campaign. And again, Townview Sid catching the eye in second. On to Heat 13, some very fast greyhounds in this. You have to feel for Burgess Rapid. She's clearly a very talented lady, Tommy. Luck hasn't been on her side. She was clear in Newbridge last night and checked up her, spotted something on the run-in, lost her place in that competition. The other night she goes up fast, just Droopy's nice one just on her inside, the two of them bumped, and then as she comes off the second bench, she gets clipped from behind by Hoodoo Brown, who himself lost ground. Droopy's Nice One. She's an exceptionally fast lady. This daughter, Droopy Sydney, September 20, of course. She's narrowly beaten in the rural kennels unraced down at Clonmel, just behind Swords Rex, showing all sorts of pace in that contest. She has a very, very big future.
Ah, she does. She looks seriously good. Just for the previous race, the Ballymacbell was either leased or bought. A lad in Fermoy, Dave, actually bought and bred that litter. The Droopy Nice One was she was very, very good. Burgess Rapid, I don't know what the story is. She had turned, she was in front going to the first bench. She had turned in second place. She had just been relegated back to third when she got clipped from behind. So you don't know. I think she's just a bit more work with her just to get the very best out of her, because she's seriously talented. Droopy's Nice One was a nice performance. Is there any case to say, Mike, that maybe the track was back a nice bit towards the second half of the night, or?
Yeah, you'd certainly think so. I think the going back to the previous race, the Bold Freddy's run looked a lot quicker than it actually was. There wasn't any rain. I mean, the weather was perfect all weekend in the country, so I mean, it wasn't an issue with that.
Yeah. There was no time done from heat 9 onwards. 28.64.
I just think this
28.70 or 28.79 Melody's Vim, and then you obviously had the slow heat, and then heat 12, 28.48 to Bold Freddy with a clear run out front.
Yes, I mean 28.39 is still a pretty serious run around there. I think it was just a very novice-y. The way Hoodoo Brown actually ran up the backside of Burgess Rapid, who was very, very unlucky. You got to be really upset if you own that greyhound. Hoodoo Brown just almost jumped her, just had to get away from her. But I like the way the winner went into the first bend and just the way and drove into the corner and pulled away. Very impressive. 16.28 to the back straight sectional. Hoodoo Brown, he's this second dog I've had a little bit of investment at 40s. I think he's going to improve. He absolutely flew home to qualify. There's lots of dogs that could have, just pulled away from that trouble at the second bend, but he drove on, and unfortunately to the cost of Burgess Rapid. But he's, again, I know you like Hoodoo Brown, Ian, as well, but he's going to have a big future.
Yeah, I think he wants a longer run in. I don't think the run in Limerick is quite what he needs. I think he needs more of a Shelbourne Park type run in. It's just that little bit further. Maybe down the line, he probably wants a 600-yard run in Shelbourne Park, but exceptionally fast greyhound. But so much to like about Droopy's Nice One for Mert Lahey. And another one, Tommy, that Mert has produced. Like, I know they come from the Droopy stud, but he's had real success with some of these ladies in recent times.
Yeah, he has. I think that this is another proper one. But I've said that about 6 times in the last 3/4 of an hour or so. Like, the quality is really, really, it's fantastic. It's as good as ever. It's probably maybe even more depth than ever, because we have talked about how in the last couple of years we really seem to have a strength in depth, and maybe more than ever, maybe for certainly for a very long time. And it's just continued in that sort of vein. So
I think it's a case maybe of the greyhounds staying here as well, Tommy.
Yeah.
There's not as many going across the water, for reasons we could probably do a whole podcast on. But they're staying here.
Yeah,
I think this, and we're reaping the reward here. We're getting to see these serious dogs, and hence the reason, the importance of all these stakes right around the country at the moment.
Is there anything you want to touch on that caught the eye in defeat, gentlemen? Anything that will come on for the run, or something that you of the ones that were beaten that sort of you go, I'm keeping an eye on that one?
Ballymac Leon, I think that was impressive. He showed good determination for a youngster. I know we just mentioned it, but Hoodoo Brown, I can only imagine, is going to get better. And then the first race, Ballymac Ben, I know they're all Tralee dogs. I'm trying my best not to do it, but
there's a few of those Ballymac dogs that turn into something. You know what I mean? Like they're a fair old record of producing.
We mentioned it. It's Ballymac. These are all Ballymac Anton dogs as well. He's having a great first crop of pups, isn't he? So that's exciting.
From what I can see, he's not going to produce too many small ones anyway. They all seem to be well built. Now, don't get me wrong, they're not all 85, 86 pounds. There's a lot of 78, 79, 80 pound greyhounds, just well built greyhounds.
Yeah, he looks to be doing well in his first kind of year at stud, so that's good. Are we allowed to mention the green wall?
Yeah, absolutely. I thought it looked great.
I think it is absolutely. Now, there's a little thing. We're a bit behind Greyhound Racing Ireland on our replays because we're still broadcasting analog. I mean, we're not HD yet, but the green wall, when you watch replays, is really, really good. I think you can really pick out the dogs, and it must be quite handy for the commentator there as well.
20 vision, Tommy. I find it fine either way, but I thought it really did. Plants and the plant pots and stuff like that. I just thought there was lovely touches. Thought the place looked immaculate.
It did, yeah, it looked great. In fairness, yeah, and it was a fairly big job too. the whole wall is done. Yeah, it did look great.
You'd like to think they just got one big giant roller and just walk the whole way around the track. Unfortunately, from a fella has to paint every now and again, and trust me, it's my least favorite job. Unfortunately, that roller has to be sort of refilled every now and again. You'd want like you want a hose into the bottom of the roller and just
no, it's a big
go
job.
the whole way around.
No, it's a big job. It looks really good. They use the orange hair there as well. It really stands out down the back straight. And I'd imagine it's better. Years ago, we had a problem with the colour of the wall at Wimbledon when I worked there, and we tried every colour under the sun to stop dogs trying to course the hair at the opening bend. The colour we ended up with was kind of rusty red, which was kind of strange, but that seemed to work. But this green, I think, definitely works.
Don't get me started on the orange hair. That's for another day. Right. One dog I want to mention. I've mentioned a couple of their dogs already tonight, and I think they might have left the fastest one out of the competition, wide open for Brenda Matthews. She ran in Heat 3 behind Drubys Edison and Coulivanny Hoffa. Callaway Doug from Trap 3 stepped straight right at boxes. She was forced to check her stride a little bit. She got a little bit lost around the opening corner. This lady was beaten a short head for qualifying effectively. You know, she does 28.72 on her racing debut after losing ground at the traps, looking green around the opening two bends, and absolutely hammered home. She's a daughter of Ballymac Bulger out of Dolce Vita, a very fast litter. Keep an eye on this lady, lads. She didn't qualify, but my God, she can run. She can run. I was talking to Damien Matthews yesterday. Just mentioned her, and he says, "Oh yeah, we like her." And when Damien actually tells you that he likes one, you can be absolutely sure they like her.
Yeah.
I'm not sure she'll be leaving Newry anytime soon. She's a very, very fast one. Others that I liked, the Ballymac Leon dog, I really like. I thought Magical Cuba really caught my eye too. I think he's a very fast greyhound. Other than that, there are so many. Kildare was so impressive in defeat. I liked the way Lenson and Ice went to the opening corner yet again. It's just a great competition, gentlemen. We still have a little bit of dead wood is the wrong term to use. We still have a few lesser lights that will get knocked out next week, perhaps. But when you get down to that final 48, it's going to be.
And you're going to have more surprises next week. Dogs coming out of the pack doing exceptional runs that we're thinking, or maybe we didn't see that coming. That's definitely going to happen next week as well. But I mean, it's a fantastic crop of youngsters once again. It looks like the draw's done. I mean,
we don't really have time to look at the draw, but that opening heat is pretty hot.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Yeah. So much to look forward to in the Kirby, Tommy. When we get down to the last 24, there'll be no room for error.
No, absolutely not, Ian. I'll just say about the you were talking about wide open there. As Tom's Delight been, she'd be the grand dam of the Folly Few pups and of wide open, who's from a different litter. She's Tom's Delight has produced something.
If you go back through Tom's Delight's breeding as well, like it goes all the way back, like it's just an exceptional breed. There's no question about it. Yeah. We'll be seeing. I know you're a big fan of the likes of the Unlock and all of them there. Tom's Delights and Coulivanny Chick. I know Noel Hare has a litter of pups in the grounds of them. Very interesting to see how they all progress, and they'll be hitting the track later this year, I'm sure. Now, gentlemen, we have to move away from Limerick for this moment in time because we have to touch upon three other tracks in the space of about 10 minutes. Firstly, why not kick off at Shelbourne Park? I was on hand to call the opening round heats of the Shelbourne 600. Some fine displays, but all for the best, gentlemen. Set the standard, set the tone. If you were building a greyhound for 600 yards, Tommy, you'd pretty much build it in this fellow's guise.
Oh God, yeah, I'd say after that, he's an absolute certainty to win the competition after that run the other night again. He's just fabulous. I'm a huge fan of him. We talked about him a lot last year. Again, another smashing performance the other night. He's a star.
Yeah,
he's just really likable. He's just something really likable about the effort that he puts in every night and the way he does it. He's not always going to pop out and lead. He's going to have to do it the hard way a lot of the time. But there's just something really, really likable.
He missed the kick the other night, and yes, he showed all the early speed on the outside to turn close second, blew holes in Og's air, which is not easy to do, and then runs on to beat Hello Hammond by 4 lengths, 32.30, handy as you like. Like 32.30 for 600 yards is serious running, and it looked as easy as you like.
Yeah, that was the fastest heat win as well. He was very impressive. it looks like that distance is absolutely perfect for him. He's a really classic 600-yard dog, isn't he?
And a son of Vulturi, Mike. You know what?
Wasn't going to mention
Again,
it.
didn't have all that many bitches, or it's had. Don't get me wrong, he's had plenty. But jeez, he throws some fast, powerful greyhounds, doesn't he?
I think his diary is getting pretty full up now. Well, it should be.
Yeah, it should be. Hello Hammond was second. He's just a massively fast greyhound. No real sat nav at times, but my God, he can run. And we have to mention Beach Avenue. What a star! Another dog that really made for this 600-yard trip. Tommy, he was third into the corner. So often happens with him when he paces up, he loses his ground at the corner. When he sees dogs immediately in his front of him, he sort of checks off wide. Looked like he'd thrown away his chance. He's fourth into the back straight. Derby's Delight goes in front of him. He gets back in front of Derby's Delight, but then finds himself in a pocket, checks out wide, switches to the outside, and then we have to mention that there's traffic on the inside. Derby's Delight was a little bit naughty, and he comes through for second, but Beach Avenue flies up the outside of the track to win in 32-42. When you consider the ground he lost, he's gone every bit as fast as All for the Best, if not a little bit faster.
Yeah, you can set your clock by him. A little bit disappointed with Sentimental Lad, is that fair?
Yeah, I think the run the previous week, it's a first time over that sort of trip, over the 575, 600 the previous week, to such running in that 30-82 run that it often just takes them he may never run another flat run over the trip, but often the second one, it sort of catches them out. And I got the feeling he was just a little bit flat-footed to the opening corner. Could be a different dog next week.
Yeah, Paul Hennessy, sorry, Tom. Paul Hennessy's got a strong hand again. He's won that 6 times, the 600. Beach Avenue, been placed 50 times in 64 starts.
It's ridiculous.
Greyhound. It's like
and you can run him any trip, any track, anywhere. It's unbelievable. If you could pick one dog in training to own, like if you'd said, this is the career they're going to have, if you take out obviously all the classic winners, the Susie Sapphires of this world, and just say you could one dog that every week you'll have the most unbelievable fun. It's Beach Avenue. Just what a star. Derby's Delight was second. Unfortunately, he won't progress. He was suspended. Sentimental Lad and Swords Maestro will progress. I think both of them will come on for the second run over that type of trip. I think it just catches that type of greyhound out. On to, we'll step back to the opening heat. Fastfit Paddy deserves a good mention, Tommy. I'm not sure if you saw this one. There's no video online, but he got all sorts of traffic early with Adam and Phoenix looking for 3 and Fastfit Paddy looking for 2. And as a result, the two of them were just sort of bashing each other for 100 yards into the opening corner. Young Bud skipped around the outside and went to the front, and out of bobsleigh Jet, you expect a bit of stamina there, but he couldn't hold Fastfit Paddy, who, despite being forced to check his stride slightly at the third bend, just rallied again on the run in to win in 32.50. Again, 32.50, considering the traffic he found, is a big run. He's always been a dog, Tommy, that could win in top company, but he's now a dog that you expect to win in top company. Is that fair to say? I think he's a more rounded individual.
He is, because and he's running big races in the real like in the semi-final of the Easter Cup. He's not beating that far, even though he finished 5th. He's not beating that far in the semi-final.
Two short heads from qualifying.
From qualifying for the final of the Easter Cup, and then comes out the following week in the 29.54, and then comes out the other night and runs another big race. So he's found that level consistency at the very, very top level. So like that, Ian, I think you can begin to set your clock by him. You can actually, when he's in that company, you can trust that he's going to do what he can do.
Yeah, Mike is going to tell us he's a Ballymac Vic. I'm beginning to see a trend here, Mike.
We got another Heat 2 is another dog we need to talk about as well. Penny Lane Sheba.
Big Kerry Roots with this one. She has been showing exceptional pace in recent weeks. I made her my nap the other night, and after the opening corner went, well, that didn't really work out for me. Spinosaurus and Lynchy Boy went at each other. They wanted to be the opposite sides of each other down the back straight, and as a result, they sort of just held each other up enough. Penny Lane Sheba then came flying through. Balliard Taylor was allowing gap up the inside, shall we say. He was taking care of Trap 6, get away with it, and Penny Lane Sheba got racing off that second bend. She's third into the third bend, and you knew she wasn't going to be far away the way she's been running in recent weeks. She absolutely hammered out that home straight. Yeah. It's ahead. I'm above that line. Now, I didn't think it was ahead. I wasn't even sure she was up. I thought it was desperately tight. When they called ahead, I got a bit of a surprise. It was ahead in the photo. It just goes to show the eyes must be going. But Penny Lane Sheba, she's an exceptionally fast lady, but she's going to have to learn how to do it a bit more early. And we know she can from the past.
Yeah, they're very keen, the McKenna's down my way. I've got her about 7 links down at the second bend. She lost a load of ground by running wide. almost a bit green around the first two bends, but the pace she showed from the third bend to get up on the line was absolutely phenomenal. I mean, I'd written down Skirlow Champ-esque, but it was just she's eating ground around the final two bends. Really good run. I was impressed by her.
That's a long comment to write in your card.
Yeah.
Tommy.
I would have just RON ran on. It is what Mike says is right. It's often the third bend because she's still 6 down. I still have her 6 lengths down to third bend. Like that's a serious run. Yeah, the first two might have bumped a couple of times, but it was still a serious effort.
Tommy, we'll skip to Curraheen Park. Millbank chosen. She is a very bright young prospect. She's only had a handful of races. She was an absolutely thoroughly professional winner of the Cork Oaks the other evening. How far can she go? She's clearly very, very promising.
God, I think she's potentially like the real top. I mean, when the Cork Oaks on only her fourth start doing a 3:33, and you know, we always talk about how Trap 1 is an advantage in Cork, but you still have to use it. And if you have a little bit of inexperience, you're in against much more experienced bitches like Billy's Divas in the race, for example. You know what I mean? That sort of quality and experience. You're giving away quite a lot. I liked her. I really did. She has a 16:25 in Clonmel for a sprint trial. I'm sure she'll probably do quick in that.
She qualified in 28:52 around Shelbourne Park last August. She ran in her debut, found bumping on the corner from trap 6, you know, after 2:31, and then she doesn't appear until March. So clearly came in season, and that first season can often just get them right. Just send them on a perfect path, and here she was beaten in her comeback start behind CeeLo, who finished second the other night to her. She wins her next start in 28:47, the other night in 28:26. Who's to say next week she couldn't do a 28:06 around Curraheen Park? She's very bright prospect, and of course she's bred to be fast. Droopy Sylvia has produced numerous fast greyhounds, and she has a little bit of age, but as we said, she's had a season, so that's probably down to that.
You say she has a bit of age. She's February 20. Like she could easily be.
Only just 2, yeah.
Yeah, she could easily be up the road, like if she wanted to be, if that's what they thought. But this was probably a good way. This was probably a good introduction, or a good way to introduce her to that level of company. I mean, this is
it's all roads lead to Shelbourne Park for the Oaks.
Oh, definitely, no question. And probably looking at her there, you know, all going well back to the laurels because she has that type of pace.
Yeah, doesn't want the inside either in. She came home on the hair rail.
Oh, okay. Yeah, to be honest, I only watched it a couple of times and I wasn't even noticing. I was just watching her striding out. I was actually watching CeeLo in second spot more so. I think she's a nice prospect as well, one to look forward to. But no, Millbank chosen. You know, she can't have done any more. You know, she suffers defeat in her first 2 starts. She's learned plenty from them. She's had a season and then bang, 2 massive runs, and who's to say she won't go even faster? No, she's a very exciting young prospect. Now we're going to finish up with select stakes at Waterford, gentlemen, because the final of this will be live on Racing Post Greyhound Television on Saturday night. It's a great bonus for Waterford. It means so much to people down there to be shown on the program, and it gives a chance to showcase what is a wonderful select stakes. Not for the first time. Okay, the very nature of the event means that you'd like to attract the very best greyhounds. The 3 that came in on Saturday night into the semi-finals were the Laurels winner, a one time only, Sing Along Sally, the Derby runner-up, and Droopy's Gloss, the juvenile Derby winner. It didn't happen for Droopy's Gloss, but it certainly did happen for one time only. He lowered the colours of Explosive Boy, who lost nothing in defeat from a very wide draw. We have a final which features Skywalker Barry, the defending champion, and a dual classic winner, Explosive Boy, a classic winner, Sing Along Sally, a classic winner. Minor Droopy, Liskin Vernon are in there. They're hardly just filling numbers, but they're going to need to be at their very best. And then one time only, a classic winner out in Trap 6. Normally an inside seat in Trap 6, you say, oh, this fella's facing a tough task. I'm not sure a wide draw will really hinder him because every time I've seen him, he's generally edged off. But it's a hell of a final, Tommy.
It is, yeah. A lot of great aspects to this race. Brilliant performance. I thought Skywalker Barry had half gone at one stage, if you know what I mean. Like fade to blow the proper open.
He looked at one point in his career where he'd gone those couple of lengths behind the top class greyhounds, and since that point, it was like, can't believe I doubted him. He's just been foot perfect, unbelievable.
And that's exactly it. This is a great performance, training performance to get him to be back at this level again. One time only. Delighted to see him performing at the highest level. after winning the laurels, because it's important for the statue of the laurels that dogs will continue to do that. The winner will come out and represent the stake very well. So delighted with that. Sing Along Sally was very unlucky. She's in superb form from the start. She has a tough draw again in the final. I thought she ran exceptionally well, and then Explosive Boy probably has a great draw in the final, if you ask me. So it's a top quality competition.
It's wide open, yeah.
Yeah, it is.
If you look at the sectionals, Tom, both winners recorded 3:17, and the backstraight sectional, Skywalker Barry 15:88, one time only 15:83, and they both recorded 28:44 in winning. So that can be any more open, couldn't it? So it's going to be a fantastic race.
Yeah, like one time only has a terrible draw now out in 6. And it's Explosive Boy.
Is it that bad? Like, let's say Singing Along Sally takes a ping and she cuts straight for the fence and there's traffic on the inside. Is one time only not in a position where he could skip around on the outside?
No, how much of a ping would Singing Along Sally have to take to lead to even break level with Explosive Boy or Skywalker Barry, or both?
No, she's definitely capable of it. Definitely capable of
it.
Oh,
no. I'm not. She's classy. She's if she was drawn in trap 1, I'd fancy she could beat all of them. But I just think that whatever she has to do to get to the front will probably take it out, or it'll cost her in the end. But I just think, like, this, you got 2 explosive early places, Skywalker Barry and Explosive Boy, inside 1 and 2. Like, you need both of them kind of to do something wrong.
Yeah, I'd like Explosive Boy myself. I think he was lucky in running. No room at the third bend when he was going on to win it, maybe, but he had to check that. So I'd be liking Explosive Boy.
From limited evidence this year, Explosive Boy looks like he's every bit as good as he was last year.
Needs a bit further.
You think he went the 550 is probably his trip nowadays. That's it, Jim.
Yeah.
That's not a bad trip to want in Ireland.
Yeah. You know? What race could he possibly go for?
Yeah, outside the laurels and the select stakes, there's not really much more for that type of greyhound until the laurels later in the year. So, you know, it's very much a 550-yard greyhound's year from here on in. And Explosive Boy is certainly one of the very, very best. Great race to look forward to. And the fact that it's on Racing Post Greyhound Television, Tommy, it'll get loads of exposure.
Yeah, and deservedly so. And it's important that it does. As we talked about this when Jonathan was on last week, how important it is for all tracks to try to get some sort of spin on Racing Post TV, because the Greyhound TV, because it gives so much exposure and opens up to show what quality they can have there too. So Waterford doesn't get too many earrings, and it's a great opportunity for it. It's
going to be a busy month or so for Racing Post Television and for Irish Greyhound Racing, because the 3 competitions we've just mentioned, the Kirby on the Friday the 22nd now, of course, didn't want to clash with Limerick playing on the Saturday night, which is understandable. That's fine. The Shelbourne 600, should I say, and the Select Stakes all being shown live on Racing Post Greyhound Television. So loads to look forward to for those of us here on these shores.
Yeah, it's great exposure, as Tommy said. You know, it's time to drive on now. We've got COVID in the rear mirror. Hopefully, we've got resets done. We've got the code of conduct practice done. All this kind of stuff. So drive on. We'll get some bums on seats in restaurants, and being shown on satellite TV across the water can only be a good thing. Right, gentlemen. I want to know your Kirby winner, your Select Stakes winner, and your Shelbourne 600 winner. And I haven't asked you about this before, so you have to think on the hoof. I'll go for the best in the 600. I'll go for Explosive Boy, and for the Kirby, God knows. But you know what? Why not go for something like Drewby's Edison? I'll go Kirby, Coulivanny Hoffa, to Hoodoo Brown in second.
Ali McLeon third.
The Select Stakes, I like Explosive Boy, and I'll go with Penny Lane Sheba to come from out of the clouds again in the 600.
You definitely wear this Kerry colours today, Tom.
Be surprised to see Delhi Showtime the 6-1 favourite for the Kirby with Presbeth. I think I'm a bit like Mike here. I like Coulivanny Hoffa. I love that run the other night.
Yeah.
I thought he might have been the best dog in possibly the best dog in the competition based on that run. In my mind, even though he's beaten, I think the offer the best is not to certainly in the 600, and I do like the 2-dog Explosive Boy in the Select Stakes.
There you have it, folks. We're after giving you the winner of the Kirby, the Select Stakes, and the Shelbourne 600. You can come back next week and watch us eat humble pie. That's it for this Monday morning for us. You're watching it on a Monday evening, of course. My thanks once again to Mike Flaherty, who's off to the golf course, I'm sure now, very soon indeed. To Tommy Lyons, the Exile dub. We might get him with the dub one of these days. And from myself, that's it from Talking Dogs. We'll see you next time. Good luck and God bless.